Lucinda and I have this thing we do called feeding the freezer. We go to Costco, we buy a big primal cut of meat. We come home and spend the afternoon butchering it, breaking it down into individual steaks, ground beef, and roasts. Then we vacuum seal it all, freeze it, and feed the freezer. So I actually got this idea from watching this YouTuber called The Butcher Wizard. And ultimately, it saves us money and we know exactly what's in the meat we're eating. And here's the thing. When you're feeding the freezer, you don't just buy any cut of meat. You figure out which cuts actually work for what you're going to cook, how much freezer space you have, and what actually makes sense for your life. So for example, you wouldn't go and buy a whole bunch of ribeyes if you're really just a ground beef family. So retirement accounts work the exact same way. There's a bunch of different options out there, but not all of them make sense for your situation. And today we're going to help you figure out which one actually fits. Hi, I'm Brad Clark, and this is Money Made Easy for Content Creators. I'm a certified financial planner, and I co-own Finchley Finance, a financial planning company built specifically for content creators and creative business owners. On this podcast, we break down the financial stuff that actually matters to your business, so you can stop worrying about money and get back to creating. Let's start with the most basic option, the traditional IRA. This is the entry-level retirement account. Anyone with earned income can open one, and for 2026, you can contribute up to $7,500 a year, or $8,600 if you're over the age of 50. So, who's this best for? If you're a creator who's just getting started, maybe you're not making a ton of money yet, this is a solid place to begin. It's simple. You can open one at pretty much any brokerage company, and your contributions may be tax deductible, which means you could lower your tax bill this year. But here's the gotcha. And this one's big for creators doing well. There are income limits. If you're earning over a certain threshold, you start to lose that tax deduction. And if you're making over around $89,000 a year as a single filer or $148,000 a year filing jointly, you may not get any deductions at all. So for a lot of creators in that 200,000 plus range of income, a traditional IRA on its own isn't going to move the needle. The contribution limit is relatively small, and you might not even get any sort of tax benefit. So it's a good starting point, but most creators are going to outgrow this one pretty quickly. Next up is the SIMPLE IRA. And the name is a bit misleading because they're actually more complex than a traditional IRA. But here's why they exist. A simple IRA is designed for small business owners who have employees. So if you've hired a virtual assistant, an editor, a manager, anyone on your team, this becomes an option. For 2026, employees can contribute up to $17,000 a year towards their retirement. If you're over 50, that jumps up to $21,000. And if you're between the age of 60 and 63, there's this special catch-up window that takes it up to $22,250. Here's the catch as the employer. You're required to contribute too. You either match what your employees put in up to 3% of their pay, or you contribute a flat 2% for everyone on your team, whether they choose to participate or contribute in the simple IRA or not. So who is this best for? You've got a small team, maybe 2, 3, 5 people, and you want to offer a retirement benefit without the administrative headache of like a full-on 401k plan. This is a solid option, and it's relatively simple and easy to set up and manage. But here's the gotcha. You're on the hook for employer contributions, and that costs you money. So if you have a small team, those matching contributions can add up fast. There are also some nuances. If you have fewer than 25 employees, there are actually higher contribution limits available, but that's getting into the weeds. If that applies to you, that's exactly what we sort out at Finchley Finance. All right. Now we're getting into the accounts where you can start putting away some real money. The SEP IRA. And SEP, SEP, stands for Simplified Employee Pension. This one's popular with solo creators, and for good reason. For 2026, you can contribute up to 25% of your compensation, or roughly 20% of your net self-employment income if you are self-employed. This is up to a maximum of $72,000 a year. So that's a massive jump from the $7,500 you get with a traditional IRA. So who is this best for? It's best for a solo creator, no employees, just you, and you're earning good money. A SEP IRA lets you shelter a huge chunk of income from taxes, and it's super easy to set up, it's easy to maintain, and there's very little administrative work involved with a SEP IRA. Now, here's a bonus that a lot of people don't realize is that your SEP IRA contributions don't actually count towards your personal IRA limit. So you could potentially put $72,000 into your SEP IRA and then also contribute $7,500 to a personal traditional IRA, or $8,600 if you're over the age of 50. So that's nearly $80,000 a year towards retirement if you qualify. But here's the gotcha. And this is important. If you do have employees, you have to contribute the same percentage for them as you do yourself. So if you're putting in 25% of your income, you're also putting in 25% of everybody on your team too. Now that can get expensive very fast. So if you have employees, a SEP IRA might not be your best move. The other thing to know is there are no catch-up contributions for people over the age of 50. The limit is $72,000 regardless of your age, and only the employer contributes. So there's no employee deferral option like you get with a 401k or a SIMPLE IRA. So if it's just you and you're making solid money and you want something simple, a SEP IRA is a very strong option. Okay, the solo 401k. And this one, a lot of high-earning solo creators end up landing on, and it's for good reason. What makes a solo 401k different than a SEP IRA is that you get to contribute from two sides. And what I mean is you've got an employee side, and that's you putting money in as the worker, and the employer side, and that's your business contributing on top of that. And when you combine these two, the numbers can get pretty big. So for 2026, on the employee side, you can defer up to $24,500. Then on the employer side, your business can kick in up to 25% of your compensation. When you add those together, the total max is $72,000 a year if you are under 50. If you are between 50 and 59 or over 64, that number jumps to $80,000. And if you're in that sweet spot between 60 and 63 years old, there's a special super catch-up under the Secure Act 2.0 that takes it all the way up to $83,250. So why is this better than a SEP IRA if the max is the same $72,000? With your SEP IRA, only the employer side contributes, so your contributions are limited to 25% of your compensation. That means you have to earn a lot of money before you can max out $72,000 in a SEP IRA. With a solo 401k, you can front load $24,500 right off the top as the employee, and then stack the employer contribution on top. So you hit your higher total contributions at a lower income level. If you're a creator making between $150,000 and $200,000, this difference is significant. So who's this best for? This is going to be best for solo creators making strong income who want to save as much as humanly possible for retirement. If it's just you, no employees, and you want to maximize what you're putting away, this is the one. Now here's what holds a lot of people back. A solo 401k has more administrative requirements than a SEP IRA. There's plan documents to maintain. Once your plan assets exceed $250,000, you have to file an annual report with the IRS. And there are nuances in how your employer contributions are calculated depending on how your business is structured. And that sounds like a lot. And honestly, for most creators trying to do this on their own, it is. But this is the exact kind of thing that we handle at Finchley Finance. We have a team that manages solo 401k plans. The setup, the administration, the filing, all of it. So you get the benefit of the highest contribution limits available without having to deal with any of the paperwork. If it's just you and you're earning well and you want to put away the most money possible, the solo 401k is hard to beat, and you don't have to manage it alone. All right, last one, the full 401k. This is the big one. And if you've made it to this point in your business where you've got a real team around you, this is likely where you're headed. The contribution limits are the same as the solo 401k, $24,500 on the employee side for 2026 with the same catch-up provisions. So $32,500 if you're over 50 and up to $35,750 if you're in that 60 to 63-year-old super catch-up window. And when you add in employer contributions like matching or profit sharing, the total can reach up to $72,000 or up to $83,250 with the catch-ups. So what makes this different from a solo 401k? Employees. A solo 401k is only available when it's just you or you and a spouse. The moment you bring on W-2 employees, you need a full-on 401k plan. Who's this best for? Content creators who have built a real team. You've got editors, managers, maybe a full production crew on payroll. You want to offer them a competitive retirement benefit, and you want to maximize your own contributions at the same time. So a full 401k plan lets you do both these things. Now, here's the reality. A full 401k is the most complex option on this list. There's plan design, compliance testing, annual filings, employer contribution requirements, and a bunch of regulatory rules that most creators have never heard of and shouldn't have to worry about. And honestly, this is where a lot of creators get stuck. They know they need a 401k for the team, but the setup and the ongoing management feels overwhelming. This is another one we handle at Finchley Finance. Our team manages the full 401k, the plan design, the setup, the administration, the compliance, all of it. You and your team get the whole retirement benefit, and you don't have to think about any of the back end. That's the whole point of working with us. If you've got employees and you're serious about building a business that takes care of your people and yourself, a full 401k plan is the move, and we'll run it for you. So let's bring this back to feeding the freezer. When Lucinda and I are standing at the counter, breaking down this big primal cut, we're not just hacking away at random. We're looking at what we've got and deciding, all right, this steak looks good, that's ribeye. This piece is better off as ground beef. This is going to be roast on Sunday. Every cut has a purpose, and it goes into the freezer for a reason. That's exactly what we just did with retirement accounts. A traditional IRA is your ground beef. It's basic, it works, everybody's got some. A simple IRA is your roast. It feeds the whole team, but it takes a little bit more effort. A SEP IRA is a nice, thick steak, serious, satisfying, and perfect when it's just you at the table. A solo 401k is your premium cut. It's the most meat on the bone for a solo creator. And a full 401k is the whole spread. You're feeding yourself and the crew. The point is, you don't just grab whatever's on the shelf. You look at your situation and figure out what you actually need, and you cut accordingly. So that's it for today's episode. I hope this helped you see retirement account options a little more clearly. And more importantly, I hope this helped you figure out which one actually makes sense for where you are at in your business right now. And if you're listening to this thinking, okay, I know what I need, but I don't want to set this up myself. That's exactly why we exist. At Finchley Finance, we handle this stuff for you. The retirement accounts, the setup, the administration, and the strategy behind it, all of it. And it starts with something we call the first look call. It's a free call. There's no selling, no pressure, no commitment. It's just a conversation where we learn about your business, your situation, and figure out if we're the right fit to help. You can book one right now at Finchley, finchlyfinance.com. If you got something out of this episode, do me a favor, subscribe, share it with a creator friend who needs to hear this, and leave a review. It helps more creators find the show, and that's the whole point. You can also find us on Instagram at FinchlyFinance. Thanks for listening. I'm Brad Clark, and this has been Money Made Easy for content creators. Now, get back to what you love. Brad Clark is a financial advisor, and Lucinda Clark is a registered administrative assistant of Cetera Wealth Services, LLC, member FINRA, SIPC. Finchley Finance is located at 15072 Snowsill Drive, Frisco, Texas, 75035. Brad offers securities through Cetera Wealth Services, LLC, member FINRA, SIPC. Advisory services offered through Cetera Investment Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Cetera is under separate ownership from any other named entity. The views expressed on this podcast are for informational purposes only and are not necessarily those of Cetera. They should not be considered specific advice or recommendations for an individual. Neither Cetera nor its representatives may give legal or tax advice. The views and opinions contained in this material are those of the author and not necessarily the opinion of Cetera, and not a recommendation or solicitation to buy or sell any securities or investment products mentioned herein. This information is from sources believed to be reliable, but Cetera Wealth Services, LLC cannot guarantee or represent that it is accurate or complete. Guests on the show are not affiliated or registered with Cetera Wealth Services, LLC unless specifically stated. Any information provided by the guest is in no way related to Cetera Wealth Services, LLC or its registered representatives. Due to volatility within the markets mentioned, opinions are subject to change without notice. Any references to specific companies, platforms, brands, or products through this podcast, including but not limited to social media platforms, content distribution services, affiliate programs, e-commerce platforms, or consumer brands, are made solely for educational and contextual purposes relevant to the content creator industry and primarily to distinguish a company's goods or services, establish context, and prevent listener confusion. Such references do not constitute a research report, investment recommendation, solicitation, or endorsement of any kind and should not be interpreted as advice to buy, sell, or hold any security instrument or to participate in any particular trading strategy. Finchley Finance and its representatives do not hold Series 86 or 87 registrations and do not publish research reports. Opinions expressed by the owners of this content do not reflect an endorsement by Cetera Wealth Services, LLC, or its affiliates. Any hypothetical examples, scenarios, or case studies discussed in this podcast are illustrative only and do not represent the actual performance of any specific investment, strategy, or individual. Any figures, percentages, dollar amounts, or numerical examples used may be hypothetical or illustrative in nature and are not intended to represent guaranteed outcomes, specific investment returns, or verified third-party data unless explicitly stated otherwise. All information herein has been prepared solely for informational purposes. Past performance does not guarantee future results. All investing involves risk, including the possible loss of principal, and there could be no assurance that any investment strategy may be successful. Words or phrases that may appear absolute, predictive, or superlative in nature, such as will, always, never, best, should, would, or similar language, are used conversationally for clarity and educational purposes only, and should not be interpreted as promises, guarantees, predictions, or endorsements of any specific financial outcome, strategy, or product for any individual listener.